But it appears that not only West Ham fans, it's not only West Ham fans, Roddy, that are annoyed this summer. It appears players are too. Very annoyed, in fact. Nikola Vlasic has put out a statement. Well, I don't even know it is a statement from Vlasic. He's done an interview, I think, for some website. And yeah, it's not good. I mean, the statement's quite unbelievable. Before we go into your views of this, Roddy, I just want to quickly put out a couple of bits. I did look at this statement. It's quite a long one, so I've just sort of put a few little points out of it. He said, I'm fed up with this dead-end situation at West Ham. He feels that he's not an important player, and it's quite clear at West Ham as well. And he only wants to play in Turin. And he also said, my family never want to return to London. It's quite a damning statement. And basically, he just wants out of the club. First of all, what's your feelings on it, Riley, when you first read this? Because, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have much. I mean, I do have an opinion. Obviously, I'm going to talk about it a bit, but he's kind of a player that's kind of gone in my eyes. I haven't really thought about him overly. I thought he was long gone. But yeah, what was your feelings on the statement from Vlasic?
Yeah, I mean, look, listen, I do feel for him a little bit because I think he was a panic buy by David Moyes on deadline day. He didn't actually use him to his full potential. He didn't play him, classic Moyes, didn't play him in his position. And he never really got a good shot at West Ham. But, and this might be controversial, I actually do not blame West Ham for this situation at all. I think people are jumping on this situation and blaming West Ham when ultimately Turin have got a very, very big part to play in this. They had a £14 million buyout clause, which they did not exercise. And I think it's quite incredible for a player to sit there and go, oh, they've offered 9 million, which is my value. I'm like, you value yourself at £9 million. I think that's he's basically saying like, I'm worth £9 million. Like, sell me. I'm thinking like, we signed you for 27. If we're not happy with a £9 million valuation, I think we're more than within our rights to do that. Just because your family, it might be a harsh thing to say, just because your family don't want to move to London and you want to play for West Ham again, that's not our problem. It's really not. Like, we're not just going to sit there and take pennies for you just because Turin don't want to cough up £14 million, which is literally peanuts. That's a terrible deal in itself. That's just over half your resale value, Yeah. And unfortunately, that opportunity's passed. If we want to sit there and go, well, I'll tell you what, you passed that now. He's done really well for you. He's had a good loan spell. When we agreed that loan spell, he's only worth 14 million. I'd argue he's worth more to you now because he wants to play for you, because he's played really well for you. It's going to be 20 million now. And he's sort of sitting there saying, well, why? Why don't you just accept it? Why don't you just accept the deal for it? And it just reeks of stupidity. I just don't understand how West Ham can take any blame in this for not selling a player that they do not value at that price. I mean, that is a crazy situation. I mean, imagine Declan Rice turned around and went, Arsenal have offered 70 million. Just take it. I'm worth 70 million. Just take it. It's like, no, if we don't want to sell him for that price, we have no obligation to. If you want to run out your contract to West Ham and never play for us again, oh well, do that then. If another club comes in and offers more money and we offer to flog you for them, fair enough. But just because you want to move to Turin and just because Turin want you, it doesn't mean we've got to sit there and get our pants pulled down and give you €9 million. I just think it's absolutely incredible. And to be honest, I was actually quite excited for maybe Vlasic to have a bit of redemption this season and see what he could do, because I'd heard that the loan spell had ended and Turin hadn't acted on it. But, with an attitude like that, quite frankly, you can go back to Turin, but, for the right price. If he has to sit on the bench at West Ham all year, that's your fault. Get on the phone to your mates at Turin and say, cough up the money.
Yeah, I mean, I get Vlasic's position, because he doesn't, I'm guessing he doesn't really care about the arrangements and things, because in his mind, he's happy there, he's done well there, all that kind of stuff. So I do understand his frustrations. It's not been a good move from West Ham, so you can understand his probably frustrations are boiling over. But there's only one party to blame in all of this, and it's Torino.
Absolutely.
They are reneging on a deal that was already in place. So the original plan was that he was going to be a season-long loan with an option to buy at the end, and the option was £13 million for a player. As you said, we spent £27 million on pretty much a year before. So it's a bloody good deal.
Generous,
really. It's a very good deal. And really, we had our pants pulled down. But we've agreed to it. They've now got the nerve to come back and then say, no, we're not paying 30 million. We're going to offer you 9 and no more. And we've gone, well, we're not accepting that. That was never the deal. The deal was 30 million. You've now undercut him by 4 million. We're not accepting that. And as you say, and then he's now coming out and throwing his toys out and effectively blaming West Ham for it, which I think is poor. But I do understand the player's frustration. I do kind of have a bit of sympathy for him. He must be frustrated. He wants to go. But really, he's pointing his fingers at the wrong people. He needs to be saying to Torino, what's going on? You agreed to 30 million. Why are you now saying you can't afford it? Don't know. I mean, we know that the Italians have got financial issues, but there's no two ways about it. West Ham are not at fault for this. But ultimately, this needs resolving. They need to get it sorted out one way or another. I hate the fact that everyone's got this. He's also come out and said he wants to go nowhere else in the world other than go back to that club. And it really annoys me when we feels like that ties West Ham down, because we don't really have to do that. I'm saying, well, no, I don't care. Like, we'll just put you on the market then and we can go wherever. It's an awkward situation, and it's a shame, really, because it's, you know, he doesn't seem like actually a bad player, Vlasic. I've seen him. I just don't, like you just said, Riley, he was never really given much of a chance at West Ham under Moyes. He never liked him, did he, Moyes, and never really took to him and never really gave him an opportunity. I have actually felt quite sorry for him. And it's quite sad that it's going down this road. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind. I think Torino have been really poor in how they're dealing with this. And ultimately, I think that's where he'll go. I think I think it's their negotiation tactic. I think they will end up paying some money towards him, but they're just trying to undercut us, and they'll probably come to a compromise, won't they, between 9 and 13. They'll probably settle at bloody 11 or something, and that'll be the deal. I'm guessing that's where it's going to go. One way or another, though, has to be resolved. What worries me, though, it's just typical West Ham. It's a decision that needs to be made. Something needs to happen. And let's be honest, when it comes to West Ham United and decision-making, that's really when alarm bells start ringing for me, because we don't ever seem to make a decision on anything. It always just seems to be something we just talk about and talk about and talk about. Because let's be honest, we've known all season, really, that he was going to go to Torino. They've known this was going to happen, this was coming. So I'm surprised this deal wasn't wrapped up during the season. It wasn't dealt with and done. Eh?
Is that on us or is that on Torino? That's the problem with me, is that we can't force a club to buy him. You know what I mean? Like, we could do what we want to do, but if he says, I only want to go for and play for Torino, I don't want to play for you ever again, but, you know, I'm training really hard for you guys and I'm being a professional. It's like, well, I'm sorry, mate, but that is not our problem. Like, we cannot sit there and just accept a deal that we do not believe is a viable deal for us. You know, it's not for us to resolve; it's for Torino to resolve. In fact, I honestly think the idea is we're just going to sit back and let it happen, because, yeah, if he stays at the club for the rest of the year, that's an issue. You've got wages on a player who, at the end of the day, doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to live in London. But, you know, if Torino want him bad enough and he wants to play for them bad enough, then, you know, surely he should be sitting there saying, well, Torino, why are you not paying the difference? You know, why poke the finger at West Ham and say, why not, why not just accept the £4 million lower valuation, when he should be saying, well, Torino, why not just pay the £4 million if you're that desperate to keep me? You know, I can understand his frustrations, but like you said, Mark, he's pointing it at the wrong party. And I don't think we've done a lot wrong here. You know, we can't force a team to buy him. We can't force Torino to pay what we want them to pay. And it's not like we're asking for a ridiculous sum. It's not like we've said, oh, well, actually, the point's passed now, we're going to say 20 million instead, which is honestly what I think we should be doing, considering he's had such a good loan spell for them. And you know, realistically, we were quite nice to give them a loan spell as well. We should have just make them buy him last summer. The loan made no sense. So as far as I'm concerned, mate, West Ham just need to sit back and let this situation play out. It's on Torino. It's up to them to sort out the situation. I think it's unfair for West Ham to be pinpointed as the people in the wrong here, when realistically we're the ones who are essentially had our pants pulled down and are going to be the losers in this situation, you know, because whatever way you look at it, we either undercut him for more than we bought him for and more than we agreed with Torino, or we've got a player at the club that we're paying wages to that will not play for us. So we're lose-lose, you know what I mean? So whichever way we look at it, we're in the wrong. But then all of a sudden it's we're in the wrong. I think it's absolutely ludicrous.
It is. It's a stupid, ridiculous position, really. It's a bit of like a lot of things at the moment, a bit of a mess, and needs sorting out one way or another. I think that West Ham, you say, I don't think West Ham have done anything wrong. If anything, Torino got a lot to answer for. The fact that they've agreed a £13 million buy clause in the contract of the loan, and now they've let that expire, and then come back and gone, we're offering you 9 and no more. I think that's really poor form, actually, and I think West Ham, like you say, well within their rights to say, well, no, we're not doing that. Why should we? And it's a strange scenario and a bit of a sad one, really. And it's one we need resolving because we need the money in. I think West Ham need to get the wages freed up. I think we need to sort it out one way or another. The player needs to leave the football club. There's no way he's coming back now. I mean, he's basically declared the fact his family hate London, so it's not a very good start, and he's not happy with the West Ham board. So that he's put the nail in the coffin of any future at West Ham, which ultimately I'm not overly bothered about because I don't think he really had much of an impact. I'm not saying I felt a bit sorry for him because he didn't get much of a chance, but I don't think it's like a player that I'm sitting there going, oh, what could have been. He's all right. He's an okay player, but I'm not overly fussed to see him go. But the club needs to sort this out. I mean, because one way or another, they just need to get this resolved. And if he needs to go to Torino, if that's the only place he's going to go, then they're going to need to cough up the money. The agreement's 30 million. They've got to pay it. So as far as I'm concerned. How do you think this is going to end up, Riley? For your final thoughts on it, what do you reckon? Can you see this being resolved and him going back to Torino then? Or do you think that, no, he's going to end up being a West Ham player and playing under a very dark cloud next season?
Well, I think we're notorious for selling our players on the cheap. So I think West Ham eventually will budge and just, like you said, be like, oh, do you know what then? Just, shut up, leave us alone, take 11 million and you can go crying back to Turin, basically. So that's the way I see it playing out. I don't see him being at West Ham next season. I think David Moyes is too stubborn to allow that kind of player to be in the dressing room or wherever he is. And I think hopefully either Torino will cough up the £13 million, which, quite a lot of money, but either that or we'll just say, look, take 11 million and just take him off our hands. We're not going to sit here and get our pants pulled down that hard. Like, you should be taking 30 million and running, to be honest. If he's a first team player that's got a year's experience for you and scored quite a few goals to the point where he got a World Cup call up, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's quite frustrating for me, but I think eventually we'll cave in and just say, look, let's just resolve the situation because you're being immature and idiots, to be honest.
Agreed. I think it's going to go one way, mate. I think the exit's coming for Vlasic, and it's right for all parties. I think it just needs to be resolved one way or another because we need to move on from it. And bloody hell, we're not worried about players leaving. We need to get some players in.